A quiet track doesn't mean there aren't bets to be made. That's right. We take a deep dive into the early odds and make our first picks for the great American race. It's an early 2026 Daytona 500 preview coming your way right here on the Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Stay fucking steady.
And welcome down the back road in between media's NASCAR betting program. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and we are roughly 2 months away from the 68th running of the Daytona 500. So I'm running back to the track today with a full episode breaking down everything you need to know from a betting perspective. It's a loaded program, and it looks a lot like this. We'll start with in the rear view. We'll give you a NASCAR update. A lot of things happening on the legal ends today with a settlement. We'll talk about that. We'll also break down the latest silly season news, where drivers are ending up, plus Horizon forecast. We'll break down the trends, the track, all we know from the entry list so far as well. And then we'll get into our parking garage props. We have an exclusive betting model preview. I'll show you everything you need to know from behind the scenes, from what stats we're weighing and aren't weighing heading into the 2026 season, specifically at this track. Then we'll also get into an early odds preview. We'll go through some different markets that are out there now, some markets I wish that were out there, and I'll also get to my best bets at the end of the program as well. So as always, before we get into the show, shout out to everyone who's making us a part of their week. We really appreciate it, whether you're joining us on the In Between Media YouTube channel or the audio feed. Thank you so much for all your support so far this season, especially as things get busy around the holidays. We really appreciate your time and energy. Please do us a quick favor, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. We have a ton of content coming out your way through the rest of 2025 and a lot planned for 2026 as well that you're not going to want to miss. And of course, we got Marcus checking in with us as well, asking who everyone's predictions are for the 2026 season. And I agree with Marcus. I want to hear from you guys. So go ahead and drop your comments below. Any Daytona 500 picks or leans you have early on in the cycle, what you thought about the NASCAR rulings this week and the settlement. I'd also like to hear who your overall thoughts and feelings are with in the 2026 season for maybe a futures perspective. So let us know down in the chat. Marcus, appreciate you riding with us as always, our friend live right here on the YouTube channel. And a real quick reminder as well, folks, that the IBT Racing family, we have a pretty cool update to announce here. It is now free to join and gain access to the chat with our analysts. You're also going to be joining to get free access into our memorabilia giveaways. Just got a load of stuff on Black Friday that we're going to be giving away in 2026. So you're going to want to be in with that. You can join now for free at inbetweenmia.com/chat. The link to that is also in the episode description. Again, free to join right now. And if you do want to upgrade so you can get the full betting cards, the betting model, and the head-to-head matchups contest, you can upgrade for $3.99 per month and $36 for the year. I don't think I've mentioned the head-to-head matchups contest so far on this show, but very similar to what we do on the IBT podcast with our touchdown call contest. Each week, you just drop in one matchup that you like, and whether that's Cup, Truck, Xfinity, we'll even take, no, we're not going to take F1. I thought maybe we'd take F1. We're not taking F1. It has to be less than minus 170 odds, and we'll have a running leaderboard all year. You're going to get some IBT Media swag. You're also going to get a plaque from Dynasty Deck if you win that. So very cool thing happening there in the Discord. Again, you can join. You're going to get access to the betting model. You're going to get our full betting card, Elliot and I's, every single week. And then you're also going to get into that head-to-head contest. And if you just want to join for free, don't want to spend the extra money, no worries. I understand it's the holiday season. Got to keep things tight. So you can join for free. You're going to get access to the chat with our analysts, the memorabilia giveaways, and you're also going to get some of the free IBT football family perks as well, including access to ask any fantasy questions, any NFL college football betting questions, and access to the memorabilia giveaways over there. And also, if you want to get invested with a free contest we have that anyone in the Discord can join this week, that is our PropDecks NFL playoff contest. This will go off at the start of the new year with the NFL playoffs. I believe that's around January 14th or so that kicks off. You can join now, again, inbetweenmedia.com/chat. If you win this contest, it's basically setting prop-based, NFL player prop-based lineups into a fantasy lineup, and then we're going for overall score. First place, you're going to get a $200 Fanatics gift card. Second place, you're going to get a signed Zach Evans Ole Miss jersey. And in third place, you're going to get a free 2026 Canton entry. So all this, again, happening over there in the IBT Racing and the IBT Football Family Discord. We also have in the new year coming some more sports, including PGA, plus our entertainment family launching. So a lot of good stuff happening over there. A lot of good stuff also happening on the audio edition. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, we appreciate our audio editor, Kyle Scott, always making it sound crispy over there. And also, you might be joining us on 101.5 FM, Talkin' West Tennessee, 8 p.m. Eastern time, every single Saturday night. We appreciate the Talkin' West Tennessee family. We appreciate the listeners out there. Hopefully, we're making your drive a little more bearable. I know, we got a ton of snow up here over the past 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm sure down in Tennessee, at least if you're up in the mountains there, you might have got some as well. So don't forget, again, like, subscribe, comment, do all that things. We want to hear your picks for the Daytona 500. And let's go ahead and jump right into it within the rear view and get you up to speed with the latest in the NASCAR world. And folks, what a week it was in the NASCAR court hearing between NASCAR, the body itself, the entity, and 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. You got to credit Denny Hamlin, Michael Jordan, Bob Jenkins, everyone over there at our FRM for saying, hey, we are going for this. We are going to try to change the sport and change it for better. And I think maybe we did just that, folks. So shout out to them. Also want to shout out Jeff Gluck, Jordan Bianchi, Bob Pockris, all the wonderful people in the NASCAR media realm who've really been keeping us up to date over the last week and a half, 2 weeks here. It's been a long time for a lot of people, I'm sure, away from their families, away from their friends during this holiday season to cover this trial. And we've seen some explosives. We have learned so much about this sport that I think we all love. And it was really cool to kind of get, a head-on insight. We talked a little bit about last week that we saw early in the week, Denny Hamlin, a couple experts up there as well. At the end of last week, we also saw Michael Jordan, Heather Gibbs of Joe Gibbs Racing also on the stand. That was some pretty insightful stuff. Heather Gibbs gave a great testimony that I think really moved this trial. We also had this week, we had Steve Phelps, Jim France from NASCAR, of course, on the stand, who apparently did not look too great out there, right? And then Richard Childress as well. He took the stand. So this was still going on. We thought maybe this could even go into next week. The judge has been kind of trying to speed this up, asked to cut some witnesses. We were expecting to maybe hear from Roger Penske later this week. Also, our guy Rick Hendrick might have been in the building ready to testify as well. However, we heard this morning that it looks like they have come to a settlement. I think this is a couple things, right? One, I think it's Jeffrey Kessler, from what I hear, is an absolute dog out there, putting the team on his back, doing some really great lawyering, if you would. I don't think the France family and their testimony made themselves look too great. A lot of I don't knows, a lot of I can't remembers, that type of stuff, especially when they were getting cross-examined and, getting asked by 2311 and Front Row Motorsports attorney team. So, there we also saw some legal issues and a little bit of news that Richard Childress was interested in maybe selling part of RCR that was under an NDA. So kind of some outstanding issues with how NASCAR was able to obtain that. I don't know if that played into this at all. But we will break down next week or the following week when Elliot's back in the fold with me. And around the holiday season, we'll also have a pre-recorded show coming out Christmas week as well for it. We'll break down what it means for the teams, for the charters, everything like that. And maybe from a betting perspective, if it affects anything as well. But full details are unknown at this time, but it did include, quote, evergreen charters. And remember, evergreen charters, this is kind of the term they started using, especially especially during the trial and early in the process as well. To describe these permanent charters. So this did include some type of evergreen charters. We're not sure the specific on that. Also, it means the reinstatement of 2311 and Front Row Motorsports is 6 charters among the teams. So great news for these teams. Great news for anyone who is interested in backing someone like Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick. I don't think you want to get involved with Riley Herbst or really running the Front Row Motorsports, maybe Zane Smith. But outside of that, I don't know if you would really be interested in a Todd Gillen, Noah Gragson, some type of future for them. But this really means we are full go. Everything should be rocking and rolling for the new year. So really looking forward to that. Glad that this happened all together. I mean, honestly, it was cool from someone who likes following the NASCAR news, likes bringing it to you here on the IBT Media YouTube channel, seeing what we can learn, especially from a gambling and a fantasy perspective. I thought we got some great insight into the sport, but glad this is behind us. I'm glad the sport we all know and love is still protected as well. And glad these two teams, at the end of the day, while they were adversaries here during this trial, could really, patch things up a little bit. You saw some hugs, you saw some pats on the back today at the end of this thing. So great to see that overall. Hopefully, Denny, MJ, the France family, everyone can rest at ease now. I'm sure there's been a lot of sleepless nights and worrisome days leading up to this trial. So congrats to everyone there and the sport as a whole. Also, some silly season news I wanted to get to as well before we get into the Daytona 500 breakdown. First, our guy, we've covered him all the way from ARCA Series up to the Truck Series. It's Frankie Muniz, former Malcolm in the Middle, Agent Cody Banks actor. He's back with Rearview Brother Racing full-time in the Truck Series in 2026. He's also going to race in the SR GT4 America Series with Tech Sport Racing. So Ford continues to power our guy, Frankie Muniz. And it was a really strong season for Frankie starting out. Had some of his best career runs we've ever seen at the NASCAR level. Ended up getting hurt towards the end of it. Had some bad breaks as well when he was running pretty good in some races as well. So hopefully from the start we can get a clean, fresh Frankie Muniz. I know he was also filming that Malcolm in the Middle reboot as well. He said that, really didn't affect him. I trust him on that. But at the same time, I think it is hard to be in two places at one time. We'll see how he handles both these racing series full time. But Frankie, I want to see him put it all together from the beginning to the end of the season. This could really be one of his last shots in this sport. We love him. He's a great interview. He's always been so kind to us here at IBT. So, Frankie, good on you, bud. Happy for you. Happy for this move. And keep doing out there with Rearview Brothers Racing. Also, Elliot's guy, Austin Green, he's going to the 87 for Peterson Racing full-time in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series in 2026. Really nice move here. Austin Green's done a lot of races with them in the past. He's been successful, specifically on road courses. I think Austin Green, we actually got to take a look at what his future markets are because depending on what races Zilich is in, if SVG or what we're looking at maybe for the road course ringers from the Cup Series coming down, there might be a market to get invested with Austin Green, specifically because if he can win a road course race, he could get himself into the NASCAR Xfinity, now O'Reilly Auto Parts Series playoffs, which I think would be a step in the right direction. But either way, when we go to road courses, Austin Green's going to be someone we look for, continue to hammer, especially in that top 10 market. I'm sure he'll get a little bit more juicy as he did towards the end of last season. At the same time, though, having more consistency in the car every week should also make him worth some of that juice. And maybe the most shocking news to come out this week, not from the court hearing, Chris Wright to the 81 McAnally Hilgeman Racing truck. This was stunning. I mean, I think we all know Chris Wright, right? This is a guy who, let me know in the comments below. Let me know in the chat, what you think about this guy. I'm a fan of Chris Wright because he's a Western PA boy, has some Yinzer ties over there. So I really appreciate what he's doing for this specific area of the country and our state. However, it's been a pretty tough go for him, right? Has wrecked a lot of race cars, a lot of race trucks, had some just brilliantly awful decision-making in last year's Xfinity Series where he did not, even slow down for pit road once, took out a bunch of cars himself as well. And just really was a problem out there on the racetrack. So really, excited for him. I know he had a bank sponsorship local here at Pennsylvania, or at least based out of Pennsylvania. That was really doing a lot of the funding for him. We'll have to talk back with Elliot. Elliot's a little more plugged into what's going on the sponsorship side of that truck, but I'm sure that's a part of it. So Chris Wright, I don't think it's a great move for McAnally, but I know at the same time you have to make these type of moves when you have sponsorship money coming in. You got to take what you can get in this dog-eat-dog world that is stock car racing, specifically in the truck series in 2025, going into 2026. And Nick Sanchez now out at Big Machine Racing, the number 48 car, won a race with them last year. So I don't know specifically what this is. I don't think Sanchez was someone who was bringing a ton of funding to this car, so maybe it's that. But we know Big Machine Vodka, right? They fund this car. So it's really interesting to see what this move was about. Sanchez looked really competitive on road courses at the end of last year, was having some 1.5 mile prowess as well, and got that dub on a super speedway. So not really sure what the move is here. I don't think Parker Kligerman's coming back anytime soon to race this car full time, but Nick Sanchez out there on the streets right now, free agent, one of the hottest names. It's got to be just really sad to see what's going to happen here with some of these young bucks. Obviously Corey Heim out at Tricon for 2026. So, just a lot of uncertainty right now, and I'm sure we'll find these dominoes and they'll get laid out soon. And haven't seen any Xfinity now. Again, O'Reilly Auto Parts Series odds. I keep calling it Xfinity, I think, just because ingrained in me. But haven't seen any of those odds out yet, or also for the truck series. I think it's because there's still a lot of dominoes to fall. We last year at this time, we already had some Xfinity. We are almost getting some truck championship odds too. Like, we are actually pretty limited in the future markets as a whole. All the books I have in Pennsylvania, I can't even bet on any of the Cup Series futures right now. I know BetMGM, they are available. They're the only one legal in the state to me to bet on right now for the futures markets outside of the Daytona 500. But we can't go there personally just because they have don't think I'm a real person still. Like, I just can't make an account. So futures markets kind of on hold. We're trying to plan some futures episodes. Of course, we'll do a first look like we did for the Cup Series already, and go back and watch that episode. Maybe I'll throw up a card here for it, link you over there for it, over there, up in there. But if we can get some Xfinity and Truck Series odds, we'll do first looks. Then, of course, we'll have our best bets for the future market, season win totals, championship, head-to-heads, everything you need to know. We'll get you set with that. So a lot of good stuff happening here in the NASCAR realm, folks. But I do want to turn our attention for the rest of the program, to the Daytona 500. So let's go ahead and fire that up here in the Horizon Forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
All right, so we're going to get right into the Daytona 500 breakdown now. And I want to start at the top with the entry list right now, just the 36 chartered cars. Also, Justin Allgaier confirmed as of now. No other opens right now, but I'm sure this will change. So right now in the model, pretty much, if you guys are over there in the IBT racing family and you have access to that, I posted that earlier today, so you can get a first look at that. We'll go over it here on the program in just a little bit too. I do have some of these guys. Like, there are rumors Justin Haley might have a ride for this race. BJ McLeod, you would expect to be back. Austin Hill rumored to have a race. So I have those guys in the model. That will continue to update and fluctuate as we get new names confirmed and unconfirmed as well. I'm sure that maybe we'll get a fourth entry from Trackhouse. We'll see who's in that car. Maybe Corey Heim takes a step in as well for 2311 Racing, specifically after this lawsuit ends, right? So we'll keep you up to date right now. But again, just the 36 chartered cars. Justin Allgaier back in with Travelers Whiskey, with Junior Motorsports. So really looking forward to that. That's one of my favorite schemes all time. So really, really looking forward to everything that they're going to put out there on the track. We'll talk a little bit more about Little Gator later on in the program. Next, I also want to jump into the schedule for this race weekend down in Daytona. Of course, things have truncated quite a bit, right, since the former Speed Weeks used to go off in Daytona, which is a bummer. I've always wanted to go down there for the full 2 weeks. I can understand that it is quite, a hefty load for a lot of people as well. And, maybe just not selling tickets, and teams don't want to invest that much time down there. I get it, right? February 11th through the 15th, that's when Speed Weeks is going to get going. Of course, they are presented by Advent Health this season. February 11th, that is going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time. That is going to be the Daytona 500 qualifying presented by our friends over at Busch Light. You know them. You love them, baby. And that's where we'll get the order for the doles. We'll also get the pole and outside finisher as well for that. And then February 12th, we will have the next day, the duel at Daytona. The first one goes off in one of the 150-mile qualifying races at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Then we'll have the second duel also going off there. I think that one will start right around the 8:30 hour. So keep that in mind as well. And then we're going to go to Friday. We're going to get that Truck Series race, the Fresh from Florida 250. Really excited about this. Always, going to have some cup ringers are going to come down and actually create a little bit of value for some of these full-time truck guys. So very, very much looking forward to some trucks under the lights. Daytona doesn't get any better. Really gets the juices going for you. And then, of course, we have the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. That's going to kick off on February 14th, that Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Again, love these little bit of later start times we're getting in O'Reilly Series next year. That's going to be great. The United Rentals 300 and the ARCA Menard Series is also going to be with them in a doubleheader. So that Xfinity Series or O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race is actually going to start a little bit later on in the day as opposed to the ARCA race. They'll be starting there right around that 5 o'clock hour. But great stuff there. And then, of course, the Granddaddy of them all, baby. February 28th, Sunday. You know what's happening, folks. February 28th. Sorry. February, I think we're on 13th, 14th, 15th there. Sorry. February 15th, Daytona 500, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time is what we're looking at for the kickoff right now of that. So that's kind of a breakdown of the schedule, what our content's going to look like that week. We'll do an early lines episode sometime earlier in the week before we get into qualifying, before we get into the duels. Then we'll do a post-duel episode. Likely sometime on Friday is probably when that will go. Maybe late Thursday. Not sure yet, but that's kind of what you can expect for us. Again, betting model already out. We'll do an early line show. I guess a second early line show because this is also an early line show. We'll do that early in the week there. Probably Monday, Tuesday, sometime like that. And then on Thursday night or Friday morning, we'll have a final post-qualifying. Anything we're adding after the fact, we'll also cover Xfinity and truck in that. So a lot of good stuff coming your guys' way right there. And let's get into the track itself, folks. Of course, Daytona International Speedway, maybe the most infamous track in stock car racing history. It's a 2.66 mile super speedway. The primary comp still Talladega, right? This is still a larger, a little bit, less wide than Talladega is of a track for sure. That it kind of does resemble Atlanta a little bit, which is our secondary comp now. But Atlanta really more is a handling, drafting track, but we can still draw some comparisons to that. But Talladega, that's going to be the main comparison that we're drawing from. We'll take all of those into account, though, in this week's IBT racing betting model. So looking forward to breaking that down with you. Some trends for this race as well that you should be privy to, folks. First of all, this will be the 9th next-gen race at Daytona. This will be the most, of course, of any track so far since 2022 when the new car was released. Next-gen Daytona winners include William Byron with 2. We also have Austin Cindric with 1, Austin Dillon with 1, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chris Buescher, Harrison Burton, and, of course, Ryan Blaney getting done there in the fall. Their starting spots, 1 out of 8 of them came from the poll. That was Ryan Blaney in that fall race. 3 out of 8 of them have come from the top 5. 2 of those, I believe, was actually William Byron, one of those being Ryan Blaney. And then 6 of 8 have come from the top 20. We did have a P21 that also won this race with Harrison Burton back in the fall of 2024. The deepest in the field, though, that's your boy Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 31st. He came from to win that 2023 Daytona 500. Who can forget that finish, folks? And we also have had 24 first-time winners all time come at Daytona. I mean, I don't know about you. I'd like to know maybe in the comments who you can remember being a big first-time winner at Daytona. I'll never forget Trevor Bayne. When I was growing up, this kid, first race ever, lightning fast all day. Him and Jeff Gordon battling now, and Trevor Bayne gets the best of the entire field there. That's one of those memories, I won't forget. I remember being at my godfather's house with my stepdad and just really enjoying that one growing up. Also, 5 of the last 11 races at Daytona have actually produced a first-time winner. So that's something to keep in mind here, right? That is something we should probably keep in mind. If you're going to be taking some dart throws on some big tickets here, I don't hate going the first-time winner route. I really don't. I think this is a place to do it. I mean, we were pretty close last year. I said it, and I'll say it again, that Cody Ware started in the same line on that final restart as William Byron. He was on the inside. Byron was on the outside. If that was flipped, we think maybe Cody Ware could have gone to the checkered flag and gone to victory lane and got that Harley Earl J trophy. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Like, I mean, I don't think I'm taking a shot at Cody Ware, but someone in that JHN range. Justin Allgaier, we'll talk about him a little bit more later. Connor Zilic, even his odds are a little bit too short for me. But just kind of some names to throw them out there for you. Also, we also have some active winners all together at Daytona, not just in the next gen era. William Byron, of course, with 3. We also have Hamlin. Again, these are not just Daytona 500, Daytona in general. Hamlin with 3, Stenhouse with 2, Austin Dillon with 2, Blaney with 2, Chris Buescher, Austin Cindric, Michael McDowell, Justin Haley. Oh, who can forget that one? 17 fall. And then Eric Jones, Brad Keselowski, Logano, and Kyle Busch as well. And the most runner-ups at this track, Kyle Busch with 5, Bubba Wallace with 3. They lead the series. Denny Hamlin is also the active leader in top 5s with 11 of them. So, again, Denny Hamlin gets a lot of top 5s here. Hasn't been as nearly as good, we'll see in the model, as he was pre-next gen. And Kyle Busch, always going to be up there. Kind of same with Bubba Wallace. We just need them to seal the deal. We need Kyle Busch to finally get his Daytona 500 win. I was on him last year to get a win at Daytona. I think I'm going to be backed off a little bit. Maybe it's the year he gets it done, though, because I'm usually a year too early on that type of stuff. So there's your breakdown of the track itself, folks. Let's go ahead and get into the betting model, and then we'll get into everything after that, like the early impressions of the books and our best bets. So let's fire that up right now in Parking Garage Props. All right, folks, we are back with Parking Garage Props. We are looking through the IBT Media NASCAR betting model. This is really my baby. I've put this together, still working on some more improvements of it to come down the stretch. But if you guys do subscribe and pay the $3.99 per month or the $36 for the year, you can get full access to this. We'll have one every single week for the Cup Series this year. That includes Bowman Gray. That takes you all the way through the championship weekend. So I really think it's its money worth in gold. I was up over 63 units last year alone with the help of this model. Really didn't have a big of a season as I did the year prior when it came to Xfinity and truck, but this betting model was worth its weight in gold. So let's go ahead. I'm going to kind of try to break some things down for you, folks. And let's just kind of start with the layout of the model. So on the side here, these are our projections. These are where we are projecting drivers to finish all the way through 1 down into 40. Again, I know some of these names aren't confirmed yet on this race, but that's just where it is. Our IBT grade, that is our combined grade for what we give each driver with all these different metrics we have, right? So we have weighing here, the Daytona Next Gen average finishes, Daytona Next Gen total speed rankings. And then we have the average position of all the races we saw in 2025 on super speedways, including the 2 Daytona races, the 2 Talladega races, the 2 Atlanta races. We also have big super speedway average finishes we're weighing in this, as well as Atlanta average finishes since 2024. Those are really the buckets we take, and then we weigh that all together, and that's how we get our IBT grade, right? So why am I telling you this? Could you go steal this and do the same thing? Absolutely. Do I think you want to spend the hours and hours and hours it takes me to do this every week? No, I don't. So I think save yourself a little bit of time, try it out. And also, in addition to all the data you're getting here, you're getting links up here. A lot of these going back to our friends over at ifantasyrace.com or to Racing Ref with a lot of this data if you want to see the full charts that our friend Ryan puts together. Shout out to our boy Ryan. He is awesome. I was putting this together earlier this week. I said, hey, man, can we get big super speedway average finishes updated? Had him over to me in 5 minutes. This guy's lightning quick, just like the cars on the track. So now looking at some other things that the betting model actually has for you that you can take a look at here, folks. The first thing I like to do is after I finish it, go into the overview tab. And this kind of just gives you like really good layout of like where the value is this week, right? Because usually if we're not at a super speedway, you're going to get some A pluses, you're going to get some A's, you're going to pretty much get all these grades, right? Because it's a super speedway, it's actually telling us like, hey, there's not a lot of value out there, right? Because we have a lot of drivers who are ranking as an F, a lot of them as a D, and then, a couple that are coming in as a C, right? And why is this, you say? Only one is a C. You can see in the breakdown over here. why this is because it is really hard to set yourself apart at super speedways because so much, chaos can happen and take you out of a race, right? So that's something we need to really keep in mind is that like when we come into these race weekends, I love the Daytona 500. I love betting on it. I know there are a lot of people who do this professionally who do not like to bet on super speedways. My approach has always been scale back the unit size, take more of a shotgun approach, but just play it cool. Find a couple bets you love. Let's play it, but we don't want to get ourselves into a big hole. Usually, if I can come out of the Daytona 500 weekend, at least breaking even or a little bit in the green, I take that as a win, right? I usually like to get myself a nice little cushion coming out of Bowman Gray or whatever the clash race may be. And then if I can just break even at the Daytona 500 and Atlanta, really, for that sense, I feel pretty good at heading into what I think it's this season is going to be a road course right after there. But, whether we're heading to 1.5 mile, short tracks, whatever it is, I just don't want to, everyone to burn their bankroll. I think there's still some good plays and there's still some value out there. And we'll talk about that. But this kind of just gives you an overall viewpoint here. And that's why it's called the overview tab. And then there is also the individual report tab. So we're going to look at Bubba Wallace, who comes number 1 in our rankings, right? So this is going to tell us how does Bubba Wallace stack up to the average driver, right? So the average driver line you can see down here, it's pretty flat, right? Because it's taking the average right around 50%. So Bubba Wallace, you can see pretty much above average in every single standpoint, except he was not good in the second Daytona race last year in the fall. He was very below average in average running position. He wrecked out of that one early. So Bubba Wallace looks super strong, and you can see also up here where he compares. So these are averages up here. Bubba Wallace, 87% on the next-gen average finishes, 85 in next-gen average total speed rankings. Looks really good across the metric for average running position at really all these tracks. Not great at Atlanta 2, not great at Daytona 2, but big super speedway finishes since 2024. It looks pretty good. So that's Bubba Wallace. He's on top. Let's go to someone kind of towards the bottom. Let's pick Noah Gragson, right? Noah Gragson comes in one of the lower scores. I think he has an overall projection for us. Noah Gragson finishing 36. Again, we're not projecting that he's going to absolutely finish there, but that's just where the rating puts him out at. So Noah Gragson, let's look at him compared to the average driver. I mean, he's below it in almost every single metric, right? I have no interest in getting invested with Noah Gragson here. The only thing he hasn't been terrible at is his next-gen total speed rankings, which total speed rankings we don't weigh as heavily at a super speedway, right? Like this, right? But Noah Gragson also had a really good run at Talladega 1, or at least an adequate one. And these metrics would kind of prove that. But, aside from that, like, towards the back of the pack in the second Daytona race last year, towards the back of the pack in the Daytona 500 last year. Talladega 1, not very good. Atlanta average running position, not good. Atlanta 2 and 1 running position, not good. Hasn't finished well at these big super speedways as well. And Atlanta average finishes, you forget about it, man. And speaking of Atlanta finishes, we also have an entire tab with that right in here. We'll usually have different comps for these tracks that aren't over at iFantasy Race. We'll put these together for you. But you kind of look like, oh, Ricky Stenhouse, actually the best driver at Atlanta in the next-gen era, or at least since 2024 on this chart. So that's just kind of what, a little bit of what goes into this, a little bit of, cooks in the kitchen, what goes into the secret sauce, that type of stuff. But I just wanted to kind of encourage you guys that this is what we're making. This is what we're putting out for you every single week. Again, it is worth its weight in gold, specifically more at the road courses, also at the shorter tracks, and also at those intermediates. Anything can happen really at these super speedways, but we also did hit on some super speedway tickets last year, including Austin Cindric. We had him way above everyone in the model last year. I mean, Cindric was rating out, just as an example, when he went to Talladega, I believe it was Talladega where he won. I don't think it was Atlanta too. He was like in the 90 percentiles. And here we have Bubba Wallace leading it with 73. This just tells me like anyone can win this race, right? Like anyone can really win this race. I mean, you look at someone like Cody Ware. Cody Ware usually in a lot of races, he's going to have an IBT grade of somewhere between anywhere from 5 to 13%, and he's all the way up at 35. You look at some other surprising names in this model as well. Cole Custer all the way up at 22nd. Ty Dillon at 20 with a 51% IBT grade. So John Hunter Nemechek up in the top 16. Todd Gilliland up there as well. I bet you also probably didn't think that someone like Kyle Larson, who consistently can't win on super speedways, all the way up at number 2. So I'll run through these, the top 10 of the model just for the listeners on the audio feed as well. Bubba Wallace in first, the only C grade, 73% IBT grade. Kyle Larson, number 2, 68% IBT grade. And then Chris Buescher, 68% IBT grade. Joey Logano, fourth, 67%. Alex Bowman, also 67%, with Joey Logano in fifth. Chase Elliott, same exact score, 67% in sixth. Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, all 66%. So again, so close. Like there's not a lot of a gap between Byron and Larson, second and ninth, right? Kyle Busch in seventh, Tyler Reddick in eighth, William Byron in ninth, and then Ty Gibbs rounds out our top 10 there with a 62% IBT grade. So folks, that's really how the sausage is made. If you have any questions about the IBT betting model, please let me know in the live chat. Let me know in the comments. I love breaking this stuff down with you, and hopefully you found this part of the show useful. Next, I do want to get into our full impressions of the books and what we thought about how things went down over there and what we're seeing early on here. But first, a quick word from our presenting sponsor over there at Wanna Parlay. All right, folks, we are back, and just want to shout out Wanna Parlay again. They've been doing some really, really cool stuff for us this season. If you haven't checked out Wanna Parlay yet, you definitely should. They create fun and exciting competitions that actually connect people. Wanna Parlay really embodies the joy of winning, the heartbreak of almost winning, and all the other emotions that you will experience during competition. It's from the brains of 2 former Kansas State college football players. Let's go Wildcats, baby. It's all about stacking legs, competing with real sport lovers like you, and getting real cash wins every single day. You can 1,000 times your money and cash out fast with this platform. Are you ready to get in the game and flex those parlay legs? Well, go ahead and download the app for iOS or Android today. You're going to be glad you did. Let them know that we sent you by using the promo code IBT. That will be a big help to us. We really appreciate that. You're going to get a 100% match bonus at Wanna Parlay using that promo code IBT. The link to Wanna Parlay, as well as everything else we have going on here at the IBT website and company as a whole, is over there for you in the episode description. So make sure you're checking that out, folks. And let's go ahead and get into the Daytona 500 markets. I'm super excited for this, folks. This has been such a great episode so far. And we actually have some pretty good markets out there that just have been released as of lately. So I want to start with the available markets for the Daytona 500, right? Breaking down what is out there right now, what I can see, where I recommend you go over and get invested with it if you do want to. So available markets currently, we of course have outrights. This was the first thing to drop. Right now in Pennsylvania, I'm seeing them available on DraftKings, Bet Rivers, The Score Bet, and Caesars. We also then have placement props. Currently, we have top 3s, we have top 5s, we also have top 10s from Bet365 and driver over unders. This is a really cool market that we'll actually jump into here in just a little bit. Those are available at Caesars. We'll talk more about that. And then we also have head-to-heads, which are currently available at Caesars and Bet365. There are regular matchups, there are stage matchups, and also a new market, most fastest lap matchup. So that is something. I'm not a most fastest laps guy. That's not something I really weigh a lot or really handicap. But if you're into something like that, maybe that's something we can actually add to the model moving forward. Maybe a fastest laps bonus or something like that to kind of give you a little insight to that. But I thought that was really cool that they are offering that. Some other markets that are also currently available to y'all folks. Starts out with the manufacturer market. You can bet on the winner at Caesars and Bet365, like Chevy, Ford, Toyota. We're seeing a lot of action come in on Chevy right now, and Ford, Toyota, kind of a little bit of a long shot in that market. And you can also bet in the top 10 market as well, where, hey, I think this amount of Fords are going to finish top 10 over under, Chevys, Toyotas, you name it. I usually have like mixed success with those markets. They're not my favorite. honestly. Like usually I feel like I have a pretty good handicap going into it, but sometimes the trends can lead you a different direction. We also have a laps led market over at Caesars, which I'm really excited about. That's one of my favorite markets every single year. Sometimes we also will get other markets that are just to lead a lap. We'll talk about that in a second. But Caesars knocked it out of the park here. And they also have a ton of specials there at Caesars, at Bet365, whether that is car numbers, laps, fastest laps. They got a lot of parlays, exactas, quinellas, anything you're looking for, they really have out there. Except we do actually have a couple markets currently unavailable to us that we need to keep our head on a swivel for, folks. And that includes the team outrights. These are usually populating, used to be ESPN Bet. Now we're seeing them hopefully come up at the Score Bet. Score Bet's been a little bit slow this year, so I can understand they're making a transition in the middle of football season, college football playoffs, bowl season starting as well. So a lot kind of going down there. Of course, NBA and all that stuff that we don't have any interest in. But so the Score hopefully will have those team outrights. Sometimes you can find those at Bet Rivers as well, but mostly the Score, formerly ESPN, is where we're betting those top 20s. This is a market I haven't seen in a couple years. Caesars used to be the primary offerer, of these. When we go more in depth on each of these markets, we'll break down where you can also bet some lines that are close to top 20s. You can't get a top 20 on every driver in the field, but something to keep in mind. I would love if we could get them over at DraftKings so we can maybe parlay some top 20s together. I think that would be a lot of fun. Currently not seeing that though, folks. So just keep that in mind. We also have the to lead a lap market. That is one that we are always constantly on at Bet Rivers. They release that only for the Daytona 500 and only in the Indy 500. It's a great time to invest in some potential long shots and also hammer down on some near even bets, right? I know I've been pretty high on the Trackhouse boys the last few years. We hit a couple gainers. I remember back in the 2024 Daytona 500, Ross Chastain, also on our boy Daniel Suarez to lead a lap. They did late in that race for us. Also last year, I bet a heavy amount on Austin Cindric just to lead a lap, and that one came through right away there. So that was really cool. But I also had some longer shots on like AJ Allmendinger to lead a lap. He blew up right away, so that didn't help. I also had on Shane Van Gisbergen to lead a lap, and he was right up there. He was touching the front of the lead lap, but just didn't get across the stripe first. So that's one of my favorite ones, though, because it's like an instant cash out. You don't have to wait until the end of the race where all that calamity could really ruin your betting card. So to lead a lap is definitely my favorite market out there. I also tried getting invested with the lead lap finish market last year. I had Cody Ware about even money. You really got to pay some juice on these, and it is tricky because last year I had one on Cody Ware that everyone else who was involved in that last lap wreck was rolled out and or rolled to a finish the race. Cody Ware didn't somehow, so I never really did get an explanation. I even tried to, message the support host over there and try and get an answer because it looked like he did finish on the lead lap, but apparently he didn't. So just kind of a tougher market, but I prefer top 20s, but because I think if you're finishing on the lead lap, you're probably going to be in the top 20 anyway. So I prefer top 20, but it's a good substitute if you don't get a top 20. So let's go ahead now, and I want to kind of jump into all of some of these markets specifically that I'm really, really interested in that I think maybe you should potentially be as well. And I want to start with the Daytona 500 outrights. These numbers are currently coming from Bet365. I won't run through all of them with you, but I'll just kind of give you the favorites, a couple ones I find interesting as well. Austin Cindric, he is your co-favorite with all the Penske boys at 10-1. Then we, of course, have two of the four Hendrick Motorsports drivers, William Byron, 12-1, Chase Elliott, 14-1, Brad Keselowski comes in 16-1, Kyle Larson, 16-1, Christopher Bell, 18-1, Connor Zilisch opening up at 20-1, Denny Hamlin, 20-1, Kyle Busch, 20-1, some more veterans in Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 20-1, Tyler Reddick, 20-1, Bubba Wallace, 22-1. I've been a sucker to bet Bubba Wallace right around these numbers almost every Daytona 500, almost every Daytona race because he's been so close out there. I don't hate that number. If we're sitting here and I can maybe find a 27, a 25-1 when more books release, keep an eye on FanDuel. They usually have some good offerings on a guy like Bubba Wallace when they drop. So I'm not betting this number now, but I am looking to maybe get invested with Bubba Wallace from an outright perspective. Chris Buescher, 22-1. Got a lot of people like Ross in that range. Alex Bowman, 25-1. Keeping it moving, going down the list, I found Chase Briscoe 28-1 pretty interesting. I think if you can grab that number at FanDuel when that opens up, I don't hate that, because if Chase Briscoe goes out there and pulls this race like he did last year, or even gets necessarily kind of close with that, I think you could have a cash out waiting for you by Sunday morning. So I don't hate that. Some other interesting numbers here as well. Former race winner Michael McDowell opening up at 40-1. Justin Allgaier, who we should have pointed this out when we were opening up the model, but Justin Allgaier has limited stats at Daytona, but he has a 9th place finish. He has a top 3 total speed ranking on the day as well, was pretty strong up in average finishing position as well. So Justin Allgaier, despite him being lower in the model, I think that number is a bit deceiving. I don't hate him at 50-1. I would look out. Can I see a 60? Can I see a 65? And also, if he doesn't qualify for the race, folks, like, make sure you know what the house rules are with your books, but you might even be able to just, it's a void if he doesn't qualify for the race. Cole Custer, 50-1. I don't hate Cole Custer. Was a guy we talked about a little bit, surprising out there. And kind of keep going down the board. Ty Dillon, 66-1. He's been strong here at Daytona. John Hunter Nemechek, same type of thing as well. Eric Jones, 50-1. JHN, 66-1. I think they're interesting. And then you're kind of with the long shots, right? You got Herbst coming in at 75-1. You get Austin Hale, BJ McLeod, Cody Ware, all at 100-1. So that's kind of just an overall look at the outrights. Like, what are you guys thinking? I think some of these are a little short. I think, you wait for a boost. We're going to get some boost from the books. So I'm not in any hurry to really place these outrights. Like, there's not a number that I can see, at least on this board from Bet365 as a standalone, that says, hey, I need to get invested in that number right now. I think we slow play these lines. We see what comes out with some promos we can use. I know when the NFL season starts to dwindle, as well as the college football season, books will just put out some mystery, any sport type of boost that you can get invested with. So just kind of something to keep in mind there. But that is the Daytona for 500 outright odds there from Bet365. So let me know your thoughts on that. Curious if anyone has any. And let's keep it moving here to one of my other favorite markets for this type of race, and that is the top 10 markets over there at Bet365. And right now, like, I'm going to be honest with you, folks, I don't love what we're seeing out here in the top 10 markets, right? It's kind of rubbish if I'm being straight up with you. Like Austin Cindric, minus 175, all the Penske boys, minus 175. Byron Elliott, still very heavily juiced. So you can't bet any of these numbers, really. Connor Zilic, his first career Cup Series start as a full-time driver, and he's plus 120. Like, I don't like that. Again, like, if there's a number I do like on this board, Justin Allgaier finished top 10 last year, plus 250 ain't bad. I'm going to, see what I can get and maybe wait a little bit on that. That might be the best number you get, because I remember a lot of books last year, he was going out close to plus 150. Ty Dillon, 3-1. I don't hate that. Again, kind of going back to that same train. Cole Custer, plus 250. I think if you're taking some shots, again, maybe they're half unit, maybe they're quarter unit plays on some guys like in that range. Eric Jones, JHN, I think they fit that bill as well. But I'm kind of in that group if I'm going to be betting top 10s here. I'm not taking someone, even though I like Bubba Wallace a lot, I'm not taking him at plus 130. Kyle Busch, plus 120, is fast at these races, but just doesn't finish necessarily super well. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on the top 10 board. There's not a ton here. Again, I do, I'm going to be keeping my head on a swivel for Justin Allgaier, see if plus 250 is the best number. I have a feeling that might be some opening line value, but maybe, we'll take a look at that here when we get to the full Daytona 500 episode in February with Elliott and with Hot Rod Villagomez. Let's get to some of these more special markets that I absolutely love as well. And the first one is the Daytona 500 over-under finishes. I'm just going to kind of run through these a couple with you, just kind of let you know what's out there, because I think these are always some really, really fun markets to get invested with, because they take a little bit out of the top 10 and, put a little bit more back in your hands. And I never mind paying a little bit more juice, because, you only pay the juice if you lose, as Rod always says, right? So Chase Elliott, again, all these are minus 115s. You can only go to the under, which would be beating this position. Chase Elliott over under 11.5 finishing position. William Byron, 12.5. Bubba Wallace, 12.5. Brad Keselowski, 12.5. Tyler Reddick, 15.5. Eric Jones, 15.5. Don't hate that number. Ross Chastain, 16.5. JHN, 17.5. Don't hate that. JHN actually minus 125, so he's seen some action come in on that line, is what that would tell me. Ty Gibbs minus 115, Connor Zilic minus 115 for 17.5 as well. Don't hate Zilic, honestly, at that line. Todd Gillen, 18.5. He was pretty high up in the model. That's not a terrible one. Ryan Preece, 18.5. Ty Dillon, 20.5. It's staring at me. I've said his name probably 4 times this episode already, so I apologize. But Ty Dillon, he has finished in the top 20 of 2 of his 3 Daytona Next Gen races, specifically in the 500, that is. So I don't hate that. I don't hate a look at Ty Dillon, honestly, at 20.5. That might be something I add to my betting card. Again, I'm going to kind of see, can we get maybe just a Toledo lap market for Ty Dillon? Maybe even a better number. Like, if this came down to minus 115, top 20 is pretty much what this is, or a lead lap finish, and I get maybe plus money with Ty Dillon, I'd probably just go with a lead lap. But either way, I think this is a market to be privy to. I think this is one to keep in mind as well. And then maybe my favorite one, Daytona 500 laps led, folks. This is such a fun market because, again, like the Toledo lap market that we're keeping our head on a swivel, waiting to see if Bet Rivers will eventually release that, or Caesars, they sometimes have it as well. This is numbers of laps led, only can go on the over, no unders at this time. Usually they do have some unders available, not right now though. A couple of these numbers I'll go through for you as well. Chase Briscoe over 3.5 laps led. That might be interesting if you think Chase Briscoe can, again, I know there was some rule breaking that he did to get that pole last year, but he still was bad fast at a lot of tracks off the truck last year. So he could go out there. He's done this in 2 out of 4 Daytona 500 starts, 2 of those coming with SHR. I don't hate Chase Briscoe on that number. We'll talk more about the Bubba Wallace over 3.5. I think that is a crazy line to have out there. Denny Hamlin over 5.5. Ryan Blaney over 12.5. Blaney's interesting because he either is like feast or famine in these Daytona 500 tracks, right? Races. He goes out, and if he's going to get over 12.5, he's going to get you 20 plus laps led is what I kind of researched. And if not, he's probably going to go out early, or he's not going to lead any laps. So a little bit hit or miss there for Ryan Blaney. Kyle Larson, I like Kyle Larson this week, if I'm being honest with you folks. I think if you can find an 18-1 number on him or longer out there for an outright, maybe a 20-1 if we get FanDuel odds eventually, I'm interested, right? Like, I really am interested. I think Kyle Larson being number 2 in the IBT betting model, really not weak in anything other than he's had a couple bad average running positions, but has been a lot better in the finishes, whether that's at Atlanta or whether that's at the big super speedways like Daytona and like Talladega. So 2.5 ain't bad for Kyle Larson, but he's not a guy I traditionally think to go out and lead laps, right? I think he's going to hang around and pounce late. He's not like a Joey Logano who comes in here over 20.5 laps led for Joey Logano. That's a huge number. I can't bet that number, but I don't blame you if you want to do it, because Logano, he likes to run this dominating style of race. However, it hasn't led to good success as of late in the 500, right? He's gone out there, he's led 40 laps, he's led 30 laps at times, but he just can't always, get that across the line. He honestly gets wrecked a lot from first or second or third in there, sometimes with his Penske brothers intact. So 20.5, too high of a number. Kyle Busch, we are, I think, actually on maybe his laps led. I don't remember if that was a Talladega or maybe this was a Daytona race last year. Maybe it was just to lead a lap. I think maybe it was to lead a certain amount of laps. I don't know. Actually, I think it was maybe just we were on him outright. I do like Kyle Busch still, but 6.5 is just too much for a guy running in this type of equipment at RCR that, finds his way to the front a lot of these races, but usually he's another guy who's going to hang around the top 10. He's not going to get out there into the front because he doesn't have a big team to push him, right? Maybe if he has Austin Hill out there, that gives him a third car. Maybe that looks a little bit interesting. Maybe Jesse Love can find a ride here as well with one of these alliance teams. Maybe he goes with, one of those money laundering squads as well and gets into a ride. But Alex Bowman, this one was interesting because this was actually plus 160, the only plus money over under. Alex Bowman, number of laps led over under 10.5 plus 160. I can't bet that. I'm curious if they release an under at one point, what that would be, because I would probably take that under, right? Even if I have to parlay that with a college football game or something else, I think that could be interesting because you're probably looking at, minus 200, minus 225 for that on the under if that comes around. So just kind of something to keep in mind out there for you folks. But one of my favorite overall markets to potentially consider getting invested with is that right there. We got TKNZ. Larson might lead a lap if he wins a stage. That's a good point. that's a good point. That's where Larson would probably, pounce, right? TK is kind of late in the race, or at least late in a stage to go after a stage point. We know he's been good for that a few times. Kind of gets almost a little too aggressive at different points in the season, trying to do that as well. So I don't hate that standpoint at all from you, TK. I think that could be a really interesting way to go about it. So yeah, maybe 2.5 isn't a bad number. I'll maybe do a little more research before our next Daytona 500 show, TK, for you, and see if I can get any follow-up notes on that. I did see like Larson, he leads like a lot of like 5 laps led. Like he doesn't ever go out and put down a ton of laps, right? It's like 1 or 2 or 3. So maybe even as you're saying, like maybe it's just like 2 lead a lap. If we can find the 2 lead a lap market eventually that comes out on something like Bet Rivers, Caesars does have these a lot of times as well, and I just can get 1 lap led. I don't hate that for Larson. You're probably, though, looking, at that, you're going to be minus money, and it's going to be pretty heavy minus money price. So maybe minus 190, minus 200. So maybe that's not the way to go about it. I wish we could parlay stuff like that, because I would just take Cindric to lead a lap. I'd take Bubba. I'd take, a lot of these, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, maybe someone like Larson in that as well. So just kind of some interesting thought processes there for you guys. Let's go ahead, though. I do want to get back to some of these early markets we are seeing, folks. And I want to get to my favorite bet currently for the Daytona 500. You've hung around with me this long. I really appreciate it. I know it's a lot of talking for one person, but I wanted to give Elliot the day off. Also wanted to make sure Rod was getting out to his Army drill this weekend. Rod, we appreciate your service as always, my friend. Thank you so much for that. TK also saying here in the chat, fuel saving means they often don't like leading. Fords tend to lead a lot, maybe different with new Chevy bodies. That's a great point too. Maybe that's something also we consider in the handicapping here, TK, right? Is because Fords do tend to lead laps. They like to lead laps, especially some of these teams, obviously have the Penske's, but even front row, if they can, they don't get to lead a lot of laps throughout the season. It's big for their sponsors to get them out there. So maybe with the new Chevy body, maybe we do see that. And how about that new Chevy body, man? Like the whole way Chevy's kind of going all about this way. I don't know, man. Like I don't get it with like the Camaros and not having Camaros. Like it's just kind of weird. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? I think it's a little bit weird, but either way, I think there definitely some interest. I think in all those. So I have one bet and only one bet only right now for the Daytona 500. Again, some numbers that I mentioned earlier that I want to keep an eye on that I don't have, just kind of leans right now. If I can find a Justin Allgaier top 10, 3-1, maybe something better like that, I think I would definitely be interested in that. Let's keep an eye. Can we find a Bubba Wallace 25-1, 27-1? I would love maybe some to lead a lap markets as well with some of those drivers we just talked about. Take some long shots on a guy. I'll go back to the SVG. Well, I'll maybe throw out a Riley Herbst, something like that. It'll get a little crazy. Ty Dillon, the over under 20.5. That's going to be one that's going to stick in the dome right here for the next few weeks to see, can we get anything else on Ty Dillon? Because if not, that might be my second favorite play here. No money on that currently, but I do have multiple units, probably a little uncomfortable amount, 3 units played on this right now. This is going to be my gainer. This is going to be where most of my Daytona 500 card is going into this bet right here, folks. It's Bubba Wallace over 3.5 laps led, minus 115 at Caesars. I think that Bubba Wallace coming in number 1 in our projections, 6th in next-gen average finish, 7th in next-gen average total speed rankings. He is the favorite in my mind. I think he's out there way too low to win outright. He's already won a Crown Jewel. I think that really calms his nerves a little bit because really, like, Bubba Wallace is a great super speedway racer. It's just in the past, he gets a little JoJo the Circus Clown late in these races, right? Makes a mistake, puts himself in the bad line, or just gets a little squirrely and ends up wrecking into someone. I think now having this experience behind him of winning out there at the Brickyard last year in just epic fashion, I think now that 2311 has put this nonsense behind them, they're going to want to lead some laps too. They want to get the Jordan brand out there. They want to say, hey, Jim France, I know it's all pats and hugs and, happy for each other today, but hey, we want to, throw a little middle finger up in the air, flip the bird if you would. So I think there's a lot of incentive for Bubba Wallace to be out there leading. Last year, I bet this a similar bet. I don't remember if it was at Talladega or if it was It was at a super speedway. I'll have to look back in my previous cards. I don't think it was in the Daytona 500 specifically. I think I just had Bubba 2 lead a lap in the 500, but also there was like an over under at one point for like 6.5, 7. So to open up at 3.5 here, this is the best bet out there right now. If there's a better one, folks, show me, because I want to know, because Bubba Wallace has hit this line in 3 out of 4 Daytona 500s in the next gen era. He has also averaged 9.5 laps in that span, and he has an average starting position of 14.5, including starting third last year. We know how good this guy is in the duels, right? He has prowess. He also is good at getting off the truck fast, usually, since he's been in Toyota equipment at super speedways. Average starting position of 14.5, so we know he's starting towards the front. I just think Bubba Wallace, over 3.5 laps led. Let me know if you feel differently, but this is the bet for the Daytona 500. We are 2 months out. There's not much time to lock it in. I mean, I guess there's 60 days, but at the same time, I don't want to be left stranded. I'm going with Bubba Wallace, Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin's boy, over 3.5 laps led, -115 to get it done in the Great American Race. And folks, that is all I have for today. Kept it right in tighty for you, right around an hour. That is going to do it for us on this episode of The Backroad. If you've rode along with us so far, we really appreciate it. Please do us a quick favor. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the entire channel. We have NASCAR betting. We also do some Formula One betting occasionally. We got fantasy football, NFL betting coverage, college football betting, PGA betting will be starting back up in the spring. We also have entertainment betting. We're betting on Rotten Tomato scores, over-unders at the box office over there on popcorn root beer. So a lot of fun stuff coming your way. We're here to help you cash more, to enjoy the ride along the way at the same time as well. Be sure also, please go check out inbetweenmedia.com for some dope written content. A lot of good movie reviews out there. Also, we have weekly NFL college football coverage through the rest of the season that you can check out. And be sure, again, join the IBT Racing family. You can do it for free right now. It's absolutely free. inbetweenmedia.com/chat. There is a dash in that address. So it's in-betweenmedia.com/chat. And that is going to get you into the Discord for free. So TK, Marcus, Stan, everyone who hangs out with us every single week here on the program but isn't in the Discord, come over to the program, because you're also going to be entered into some memorabilia giveaways. We got for the Daytona 500, I'm pretty sure we have an SVG autographed Wendy's car. I just got 124th. It is sweet. It is the coolest diecast I ever have seen. We're going to give that away Daytona 500 week, or probably the week after, but you got to be entered by Daytona 500. It's going to be our Daytona 500 giveaway. And then we have a ton of other autographed diecasts we're going to be giving away throughout the season. You're also then going to be access into the IBT football family, where you're going to be able to join the conversation over there on the NFL gambling and college football gambling streets. You're also going to get entered into those giveaways right now as well. And we also have the contest going on for the premium members, $3.99 per month, $36 for the year. You can get access into the head-to-head matchups contest. Again, if you win that, you're going to get some IBT Media swag. We'll throw in some different die casts as well. Probably not autographed, but then you're also going to get a plaque memorializing your win from our friends over at Dynasty Decks. You're also going to get to join the conversation and get our entire picks and predictions that we put into our betting card channels. You're going to get the betting model that I showed you today. We'll give you that every single week. And then also over there on the IBT football family, you're going to get the picks and predictions as well, entry into the touchdown call contest. And then if you want to join right now as well, I know this is the NASCAR show, so don't worry about that. But at the same time, we have a PropDecks playoff contest. This is our partners over there at PropDecks. They do a great job. You set prop-based lineups, so player props. You set them into a lineup going over under certain players. You can parlay them together, get aggressive, or you can just take one prop to get, usually your 9 or 10 points. You put them in a lineup. We're going the entire way from the NFL postseason, wild card weekend into the Super Bowl. So we're going to have 4 weeks of this. The winner, you're going to get a $200 Fanatics gift card. Second place, a signed Zach Evans jersey. Third place, a free D&O entry. That's our live draft party, draft night out in Canton, Ohio at the Fantasy Football Expo every single year. You're going to get that. You can join this contest for free. This one is for free. This one is for everyone. You don't have to be upgraded. inbetweenmedia.com/chat. Go into then the PropDecks playoff contest channel, and it's going to be everything you need to know in there to get invested with that. Folks, that is everything for me. Thank you so much for watching, and keep it in between until next time.